G'day everybody and welcome back to the Dark Cub Review. I'm your host as always, Dark Cub, and I have got a great video for y'all today. It's a continuation of a video that I did a couple of days ago. No, not a couple of days ago, about a week ago. And this is part 2 of favourite cartoons growing up in the 90s. I am so sorry that I haven't gotten this out a lot sooner, but I have been recovering over the last couple of days from a very, very bad head cold, sinus infection, really bad throat cough, and my body is racking with pain. I'm on the mend. I do feel a lot better today. Over the last 3 days, I've just been absolutely tired, miserable, and really trying to recover as quickly as I can so I can get out and go and do things again. But I really wanted to get this one out and share it with y'all to see who else grew up with these cartoons, particularly, well, I grew up with these cartoons in Australia, where I come from in Australia, but I want to see what everyone in America grew up with. So that's today's video. But before I get into that, I just want to say a huge thank you to all the new people that are tuning in and watching my videos, new subscribers. Thanks so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. It makes me so happy to see that. Everyone returning, you know I all love and appreciate you. So without further ado, I'm going to roll the credits and I'll see you after that. Okay everybody, I am back. So without further ado, let's get into what I grew up with for part 2 of the 90s cartoons that I absolutely loved growing up as a kid. Now these, I'm going to be talking about, this is while I was in middle school, leading all the way into me going into high school, but it's all this is all 90s. Some of it's going to be 80s, obviously, but I grew up with it in the 90s. But this one I'm going to be talking about is from a TV show in the 90s called Cheese TV. Now, I have talked about Cheese TV before in some of my other videos, but this was a show every day that I watched in the morning from 6 a.m. till 8:30 in the morning before school. Obviously, my school started, I had to be at school by 8, but I watched some of the stuff in the morning, and Cheese TV would be screening all of this stuff in the morning for kids, Monday to Friday, before going into school. Now, this led into, I think the 2000s, a little bit into the 2000s, but Cheese TV was mainly 90s, from what I remember. And Cheese TV was bloody amazing, absolutely amazing. They had some of the best cartoons from the 90s that I grew up with, and in in no particular order, one of the first ones that they had from 1996 that I remember is the launch of the Pokemon series, the first ever Pokemon series, and I just, as soon as I saw that, I absolutely fell in love with Pokemon. It was like the biggest bloody craze. It still is now. But back in the 90s, my God, people, you have no idea. Then it came out with the cards and everything else, It was such a good time with Pokemon and the Pokemon cards in the 90s. Not like it is today, where it's just absolutely awful to be a collector. It's just ugh. But yes, first ever Pokemon series, the first launched in 1996 in Australia. Watch that, and then of course there's also Digimon. Everyone remembers Digimon, Digital Monsters. I mean, that was another one that was screening on Cheese TV while I was in middle school, and it was absolutely fantastic. Digimon is still one of my favorites as well. A lot different to Pokemon, but the animated series for that was really, really awesome. I really, really loved the series of the original Digimon series. The later series became a little bit ridiculous, but the original series with, Tai and his friends was the absolute best. And then, of course, another one that was screening on Cheese TV at the time, Dragon Ball Z. Now, I know Dragon Ball Z came out a long time, long before that. Or actually, it was Dragon Ball first, and then Dragon Ball Z. So Dragon Ball Z was 90s, and I absolutely loved Dragon Ball Z. Did not even click to me that it was based on a manga, and that I didn't know much about that side of things. I just spoke about that in previous videos as well, that I didn't even know what manga was back then. So I only had to go on, cartoons that I watched. And Dragon Ball Z was a huge influence on my life growing up in middle school and also in high school, because it continued into Dragon Ball Z continued into high school as well. But Dragon Ball Z in the 90s, middle school was just, oh my goodness, it was absolutely fantastic. It blew my mind as a kid. And then they came out with movies, some of the Dragon Ball movies, Dragon Ball Z movies, and my childhood was just amazing, especially in middle school, because there were so many great cartoons. Another one is Yugioh, that was launched as well when growing up in the 90s. That launched as well, alongside Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z, And Yu-Gi-Oh! I absolutely loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of my favorite animated cartoons, anime cartoons, should I say. And, to go along with it, they had the card game, and the card game was so much fun. I played it all the way into high school, and then it slowly waned off, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Was gaining a lot of popularity, and it was actually becoming a lot more. It was actually competing with the Pokemon trading card game at the time, and there were a lot of people playing both of those, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! But I remember playing a lot more Yu-Gi-Oh! Over Pokemon as I got older, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was just fantastic. Another one that I grew up with, one of my favorite cartoons of all time, Sailor Moon, people. Sailor Moon. Cheese TV had Sailor Moon in the mornings, and I remember getting up and watching that before school, even taping it on VHS. It was just fantastic. I absolutely love Sailor Moon. I'm a huge fangirl for Sailor Moon. I don't care what anyone says. Sailor Moon is the shit, people. Sailor Moon is amazing. Even now, all these years later, I absolutely love Sailor Moon. I mean, for God's sake, I wear Hello Kitty dolls. It's just, I love that sort of stuff. And Sailor Moon for me was just really funny, outlandish, like the humor in it, is funny. It sort of reminds me of all the other animated cartoons out there that are like the anime cartoons that are really, really funny. And Cheese TV had that. Cheese TV also, now, I did speak about it in a previous video, and I will bring it up. It's Teknoman. Now, I know in Japan it's actually called Teknoman, or Teknoman, I think, Teknoman. And when Cheese TV released it, when Australia got it, it was called, excuse me, it was called Teknoman. And that was a huge influence on me. Huge influence. Like I said in that video, that was one of the first, when I saw that on Cheese TV for the first time, that's what got me into anime, like anime, real anime style cartoons. Like, it was fantastic. Still is to this day. I remember it like I was still a kid. It was a guy that fights in Blade, his name is, and he fights in this connected mecha suit. And there's an evil dude called Darkon, and they fight the spider crabs. And then there's other bodysuits. Very much, it's very, very similar. No, I wouldn't even say it's very, very similar, but it reminds me a lot of Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 in the way that the suits are. But the suit that Blade goes into is a real giant one, and he has a crystal, and he doesn't know much about his past. Like I said, I did a previous video on talking about Teknoman, how it was a huge influence on me, and seeing that on Cheese TV was just absolutely amazing. It still is to this day. I've got the whole original series on DVD, and I absolutely cherish that because that was one of the biggest ones that influenced me as a kid to get into anime. And I'll forever be grateful that I grew up in the 90s, although I wish I grew up in the 80s. Always, forever, and will be an 80s baby, but growing up in the 90s, I have no regrets because some of the cartoons in the 90s were fabulous. Other ones that I grew up in the 90s are Real Monsters. Like, if anyone remembers Are Real Monsters, like, you know, you guys are absolutely awesome because Are Real Monsters, oh my god, Are Real Monsters was one of the funniest cartoons I have ever seen that incorporates monsters scaring humans, and you know, that sort of reminds me of Pixar's Monsters Inc. Now, Our Real Monsters was Monsters Inc. before Monsters Inc. became Monsters Inc. The concept, everything, and I think that's where they get the concept from. Our Real Monsters was fantastic growing up as a kid, and I'm trying to find the full series of that because I would love to revisit that series and revisit my childhood because that is a fantastic series. Now, another one that's fantastic that a lot of people would have heard of by now, and that's Captain Planet, Rescue Ranger. Captain Planet, he's our hero. You know, come on, people. Like, everyone has to know who Captain Planet is. As corny and cheesy and just like ridiculous as Captain Planet is, Captain Planet is fantastic. Still is. Every now and then I just see old clips of Captain Planet on YouTube and stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, it takes me back growing up as a kid where I used to watch it every afternoon in Southern Cross growing up as a kid. Oh my god. Even to this day, Captain Planet still has a big influence on me because again, it reminds me a lot of Sailor Moon and all those other anime style cartoons growing up, because Captain Planet does have some real world issues with it too, and it was a great way to influence kids to recycle and not litter, and it gave you like real world problems like what happens to the oceans when you dump plastic. And it always, at the end of the episode, it always had a segment where Captain Planet, Mother Earth, Gaia would talk about real world issues happening today in this on this side of the world or that side of the world or anywhere in the world, and the Planeteers would talk about it as well and say recycling is really good, and you know, pick up the trash when you see it, and you know, don't leave can holders in the ocean, don't dump plastic in the ocean, and that sort of stuff. It really taught kids valuable lessons, and it was a great way of including kids into it and getting them to recycle and do things better, and how you can reduce fossil fuels and stuff like that. So it had real world meaning to it, and that was a really great way to get a message across to kids, even parents at the time as well, that we should do this stuff to help the planet and stuff like that. So that was another one that I grew up with as a kid. Now, obviously, in my previous one, I spoke about Gummy Bears, the Snorks, Transformers. I was still watching those growing up. But also, then of course, you have Meet the Thornberries, which was really quirky series. Meet the Thornberries I really, really enjoyed, especially the little hyper brother dude that has really spiky hair that reminds me of Chucky from Rugrats, and he's just like complete nutter. Yes, Nigel. I remember Nigel. Yes, Nigel. Yes, want a cup of tea? He was really funny, like Nigel's English accent. Yes, yes. And just he had really nasally voice, and he was just so funny. And Meet the Thornberries was really, really good growing up. Don't know if anyone else has watched it, but I watched it. Another one that grew up with is Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold was really ahead of its time, I think, too. But oh my God, was it entertaining? Was it funny? Yes, it was funny. Did it have great character development? Yes, it did, because it actually taught you about bullying. It taught you about, stealing. It taught you about being nasty to other people. It taught a lot of things growing up. But it also had fun with its content, and wacky adventures and things like that. But it was more based around these kids growing up and finding out as they traverse their town and stuff like that, that there are lessons to what they do and consequences. And it was a really good cartoon. I had to say, it was a really good cartoon. Another one that I remember growing up as a kid, I think it was called Recess. I think it was called Recess. I'll flash it up. But I remember that one, not as much, but I know it was about a group of kids that do a bunch of stuff. But that was good for what I saw of that. But I mainly was more Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, Digimon, Sailor Moon, all the other ones that I've mentioned. I literally watched a lot of that. Real Monsters. I know, another one that was very, very influential growing up, like really, really influential. And I have done a video on this, and I will flash it up, and that is the Twins of Destiny. The Twins of Destiny was just awe-inspiring. It was an incredible gateway into a series that was extremely ahead of its time, was really impactful growing up, like really impactful. The music, the direction, the artistry, the story, everything about the Twins of Destiny was amazing, was absolutely incredible. It is an amazing series that really, even the theme song is just, it takes you into another world. And at the time as well, it was a very, very controversial anime cartoon because of the way that it depicts China in the old world dynasty era. And even to this day, it's very, very hard to get your hands on a full set of it. It's never been released publicly anywhere, no DVD, it's never been released anywhere because of the fact that the way that it depicts China back in that day is very, very controversial. And it's it's very, very hard to explain, but it's like it's been locked up in a vault and can never get released because of the fact that it has real world, it depicts China in a light that is controversial because there's a lot of swaying opinions and stuff like that on how China is depicted as, you know, ruthless country, and it involves, you know, the plot of the two kids and the real world issues that are happening in the actual series as it unfolds, and it depicts that dynasty as very tyrantish. And I think that's where all the controversy comes with that, from what I remember. And it's just so disappointing because I really, really want to take myself back into that world and into that series, because it was just absolutely phenomenal series. You had to have grown up watching it, like I did, because even after the series ended, the final episode ended, it completely stayed with you for years, because it was always one that I would go, oh my god, I really want to watch that series again. But it was now, you couldn't get it anywhere. I couldn't find it anywhere. But that just happens, unfortunately. Like, Disney locks up certain movies in their vault and you never see them again. And they come out at a certain time and you got a limited time to grab it, then it goes back into its vault. You know, all that stuff with The Watcher in the Woods from the 80s. They refused to accept the fact that Disney had a dark phase back in the day, the Black Cauldron. They refused to acknowledge the Black Cauldron. And The Watcher in the Woods with Bette Davis and Lynn Holly Johnson. Absolutely fantastic movie that was, with all the trouble that it had during production and reshoots and everything like that. And the movie that we got in the end, absolutely fantastic. Bette Davis is amazing in it. Lynn Holly Johnson, amazing as one of the main characters. But Disney refused to believe that they had a dark period where they were releasing dark movies. And I miss that era of Disney. I really do, because The Black Cauldron is absolutely a fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic. And The Watcher in the Woods, they just refuse to believe it exists. And they really do. They refuse to believe it, and when it comes up to its anniversaries and stuff like that, they refuse to believe that it exists. And that's just sad. That really, really is sad. Thank you all for watching this one. This concludes part 2. I know this is a long one, sorry, but I felt like this one, part 2, deserved a lot more over number 1, because a lot of the stuff that I've mentioned I just absolutely cherish growing up as a kid. I know there's more that I could have put on the list, but then that would take it out further. So maybe there'll be a part 3 down the line. You'll just have to wait and see. But thanks so much for your patience, guys. I really do appreciate it. It's been fantastic talking about this subject. And I will get on to figuring out when I'm going to do a second live video. I really want to do a live stream where I just talk about anything and anything. And if people jump on and want to comment and talk, I'd be happy to answer questions and stuff. I've just been so busy, so swamped, recovering and stuff, and still a little bit nervous about doing another live stream. But I will endeavor to do one this week sometime. I really do, because it really does help with just talking on the screen, talking with y'all in the chat. If no one shows up, at least I'm talking and getting all these getting what I need to get out and talking. Just, it helps with my anxiety. Other than that, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and notification bell to keep up to date with all my content. And don't forget, I've got 2 links below in the description. One for my Instagram, one for my TikTok, and I'll have my email address down the bottom if anyone wants to ask me any questions. about anything, feel free to email me. Thanks so much, guys, again. You've been great, and I will see you all with another video very soon. All right, guys. Ciao.